assuming we die in God's friendship, a large number of us die, not all, but a large number of us die with consequences of sin still in our souls. We still need to be purified. We still have wood, hay, and straw, to use St. Paul's image, that needs to be disposed of so that we'll be perfectly pure in heaven. Jesus causes us to grow in sanctification over the course of the Christian life, but usually we're not completely sanctified by the end, and so we need a final sanctification to make us able to be in the pure joy of heaven. And that's what purgatory is. It's simply the final dealing with all of the consequences of sin so that we're freed from all of them, so that we are perfectly holy, and so that we're ready to experience God's entirely pure presence in heaven. And it's something that even folks in other religious communities besides the Catholic Church understand and recognize the need for. Eastern Orthodox Christians, for example, recognize the need. They don't use the term purgatory, but they recognize the need for the dead to be helped in this way. People in Judaism, similarly, they don't use the term purgatory. That's a Latin term, but they recognize a similar need. And even some Protestants like C.S. Lewis recognize this. So it's simply a human reality that we can see that most of us are not perfectly pure by the time we die, but we will be perfectly pure in heaven. So between death and heaven, there needs to be a cleaning up.
Elizabeth, I'd invite you to visit Catholic.com. Just type in purgatory and you'll get lots of stuff, including stuff written by Jimmy Akin.
Yeah.
Thanks for the call. This is Catholic Answers Live, Q&A open forum for non-Catholics only. Let's go to a Lutheran now. San Francisco, California on 101.7 FM. Hello, Andrew.
Hello. My question has changed now a little bit after just the previous call, and I was wondering if I could kind of ask a follow-up on that.
For a hefty fee, yes. Go.
Okay. My question is, you mentioned, her question was about purgatory and so on, and things needing to be continued or this time to really complete. Then that makes me think of what you said about Hebrews and so on. Hebrews is all about Hebrew, that Christ is above angels, he's above Moses, he's above all priests, and it says, his sacrifice was once for all. How does that then coincide with what you just said about purgatory and so on?
Okay. Well, Jesus was sacrificed on a cross once for all, right? He's not dying over and over again. We can agree to that, right?
I believe that, yeah.
Okay. And so his sacrifice on the cross paid, among other things, for you and me to be forgiven, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Actually, it said you are forgiven.
Right. Did his sacrifice also pay for us to be sanctified and made pure?
I would go to Ephesians and places like that where it says you have put on the new man, which is being restored more and more each day.
Right. And did Jesus' death on the cross make that possible for us?
Well, justification, though, and sanctification are two different things.
I understand that in the Protestant community the terms are used distinctly. That's fine for our purposes. My question is, did Jesus pay for our sanctification as well as our justification?
I guess I would need to understand a little bit more of what you mean by that. Did he?
Well, God sanctifies us over the course of the Christian life, right? He makes us holy.
Correct.
Okay. So we're made holy over the course of our Christian life. Is that something that flows from God's grace that Jesus provided for us when he died on the cross?
Yes.
Okay. Well, then that's the answer to your question. Purgatory, if you conceive of it as just the final stage of sanctification, is something that is applied to us as a result of the sacrifice that Jesus made on the cross. He paid for it on the cross just like he paid for our forgiveness or our justification. And it's simply that he chooses to apply it to us over the course of our Christian lives, including that final little bit right before we enter heaven. So he applies it to us in stages rather than all at once, the way he does forgiveness.
I guess a follow-up I'd have to that then about the time frame is, what about though in 1 Corinthians, as Paul is talking about the end, it says, in the twinkling of an eye,
mm-hmm. Yep.
the old and will become the new, the immortal. or the mortal with immortality. And so then how do you then fit in the time frame that you talked about?
Well, when I refer to a time frame for our holiness or being made holy, I'm speaking of the entirety of our Christian life from baptism all the way through purgatory. Now, in terms of how long does purgatory itself take, that's something the church does not have a teaching about. I can give you an answer, though. It takes exactly as long as God wants it to. He can clean you fast or he can clean you slow. It's going to take however long God wants it to. And so when Christ returns and those who remain, who haven't yet died and been purified, when they see him, they will indeed be transformed in a twinkling of an eye, because that's how fast God can do it. In terms of those who experience purgatory before that event, we don't know, but it could be instantaneous. Former Pope Benedict talked about it not in terms of being measured in worldly time, but as an existential encounter with Christ that could, from an earthly perspective, take place in an instant. But that's something we have to leave to God, because he hasn't told us a whole bunch about how time works in the afterlife.
Even the word twinkling, when you say the twin part, the cling is in the future. When you get to the cling, the twin is in the past.
So there's like two clings. Are there twin clings?
They're cling on. Oh, Klingon. I knew I'd segue some Star Trek-ish
You did
direction.
The Star Trek reference, not me.
Andrew, I'm glad you're there. I hope that shed a little bit of light on your path. I'm not sure what your original question was going to be, but feel free to call back any other day.
Yeah.
And thanks for that.